On behalf of Director NIPID, I invite one and all. Today's speaker, Dr. Rajeshwari, my seniors, my colleagues from CRCs and RCs, and also all the participants. I welcome you one and all. As our director is busy in meeting with the ministry, he is not able to attend. So we will go further. So today our speaker is Dr. Rajeshwari. She is lecturer in medical sciences and she is lecturer in early intervention, and she is working in this field for the more than 10 years. So before going to our talk, just I will be talking few words about the early intervention. So what is the importance of early intervention? So what is the rationale of this early intervention? So as you all know that early intervention is based on the fact that newborn brains and infants, they have tendency to regenerate of any assault or injury. So this is called as neuroplasticity of the CNS. So what is meant by neuroplasticity? So this is one of the evidence for early intervention. So what is neuroplasticity? So neuroplasticity is ability of the brain to restructure itself. Suppose I will give one example. If one child at 3 years of age, the area of the left hemisphere that controls the speech is damaged. So other area of the brain of the right hemisphere may take some of the language ability. So this is the importance of the early intervention. So one is the neuroplasticity. So the age for the neuroplasticity is mostly 0 to 3 years, but in some countries they say up to 6 years. So what is this rationale for early intervention? As you all know that 75% of the brain development, 75% of the newborn's brain development occurs in the first 2 years, and 90% of the brain development occur up to 6 years. So this is the age we want to focus on the early intervention. So when you are finding any child with any developmental disability, so this is a very crucial period and the critical period to give some appropriate therapies and intervention, as there is neuroplasticity. Another rationale for this early intervention is myelination. So most of the myelination of the central nervous system occurs in first 2 to 3 years of age. So this is very, very crucial period. Suppose when we are identifying a child at an younger age, when we give some interventions, you can see drastic improvement in the child. Why means myelination can take place up to 2 to 3 years of age. Another thing is most of the gross motor milestones and fine motor milestones. What we see in the children, majority of the gross and fine motor milestones, they are achieved by 3 years of age. And also most of the language, so what the child understands the language is done by 3 years of age. And also this is the age where learning can be made easy, and also the brain has the capacity to restructure itself. So this 3 to 6 years of age, from 0 to 6 years, is very important. And also what is the main importance of early intervention? So one thing is the first, in early intervention we'll screen the child, and next phase is identification of the child. So screening we will be doing, and next is the identification of the child, and next thing is to promote the normal growth and development. So this is the main motive in early intervention. So we should try to focus promoting opportunities for normal growth and development of the child. And also in early intervention, the other areas is the most thing is we want to reduce the burden, whether it may be financial burden or caregiver burden, and also we should improve the quality of the life. So when you are identifying the child at an younger age and giving appropriate intervention and therapies, so you can improve the quality of life of the child, you can reduce the caregiver burden, and also you can reduce the financial burden of the family. So what is the team in early intervention? So in early intervention, you have a team of pediatrician, early intervention, child psychiatrist, speech pathologist, occupational therapist, psychologist, psychiatric social worker, and you can add some other people. Okay, no, this is the main important. And in early intervention, we will focus on different areas, whether it may be cognitive skills like attention, learning, problem solving, or self-care skills also, like dressing, grooming, and also communication skills, speech, understanding, all these things. And also the physical and the sensory issues also you can handle in early intervention. So the mostly what we are following in early intervention is the teamwork. So it's not from a single therapist which will be doing all, it's a combination of the teamwork of
आवाज गया ना सर? सर म्यूट कर दीजिए। सर प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ सर. Sir, unmute yourself, please.
I request our today's speaker, Dr. Rajesh Peri, to take over.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Rajeshwari, basically a homeopathic doctor who turned into early intervention specialist after procuring my MSc in disability studies early intervention from NIPED. See, like my basic interest is like to promote the early intervention through early identification, screening, early identification and intervention in the field of various disabilities. First of all, I thank our director, sir, Major B.V. Ramkumar, and coordinator, Dr. Shravan Reddy, to provide me this opportunity to participate in this national webinar and share my experience with the versatile group which is attending today. I welcome you all, though it is a group of very different professionals, maybe students from the disability rehabilitation and some of the parents, caregivers and many other field people are also in this webinar. So I would like to make this presentation lucid enough to make everyone understand in a better way. See, like how it is, like every family, whenever there is a expectation of a newborn in the family, so it is like nothing less than a celebration. We all will be eagerly waiting for this event to happen, and we welcome the baby with all full heartedness, and like we will be so much enthusiastic to receive that baby and rear the baby, like how it grows along with the family. So but earlier the days were there when we used to eagerly wait whether the born baby will be a male child or a female child. Now the scenario is very much different, little different from that. Like more than a worry about like male or female, that eagerness is no more existing because we don't have any gender bias existing now. But now the current like concern is whether the baby which is coming in the family is going to be a normal or a neurotypical, or is it going to have any associated conditions or any developmental delay or disabilities. Because now everyone is aware that like every newborn is not always growing normal. Some or the other problems will be there in some percentage of the newborn, and people are aware about this, though the different disabilities may be having the different set of awareness, but at least the people are knowing that some or the other things may be normal in the development, so they will be keen in observing the child's development. And also the role of pediatricians and neonatologists will be a major one in order to make the parents, new parents, aware about watching their baby's growth and development so that we can catch them early. So like today's presentation is on all early identification and early intervention for the children with developmental disabilities. So in this presentation, like we will be going to see like what is the difference between the mere developmental delay and the developmental disabilities, and what are the different types of disabilities that we come across, and what are the different causes for these disabilities. And once we know the causes, like what are the different areas that are going to get affected in the child's development. And once we know all these things, like how to identify this existing whatever the baby is born with the disability, how to identify that as early as possible, what are the early red flags of different disabilities, and how to plan the intervention program for them, and how much important the parents' involvement in the rearing such babies with all the difficulties they are having, and how to make them as independent as possible through the tailor-made early intervention program which is framed for that particular baby, and you will be having a good take-home message also. See, like early identification and intervention can have a significant impact on child's ability to learn new skills as well as reduce the need for expensive intervention over the period of time. Means, like if you catch them very early in the infanthood only, so what happens? Like we will be able to predict the projected course of development which is going to be deviated, and what actions we have to take and how to promote the normal development. That all action plan will start well in advance. Like so however we are sure that like a baby is going to have this, that and all, but with the residual capacity which is the baby is born with, if we start enhancing that residual capacity and plan the program effectively, we can reduce the impact of that disability, and we can also keep the secondary complications at bay. So like by doing all this, like we will be promoting the proper development of the babies. High quality of early intervention programs for vulnerable infants and toddlers can reduce the incidence of future problems in their learning and behavior as well as the health status. If it is like always we know, no, like prevention is better than cure. Like if we are alert well in advance and start the intervention techniques, we can make the baby's development quite smooth. So like intervention is very much effective and cost effective as well as very qualitative if you administer it between the 0 to 3 years. Like why 0 to 3 years is very important, we'll discuss later. See, like let us understand what is the developmental delay and what is the developmental disability. Delay is nothing but like a mere slowness or a delay in the achievement of the milestone. If a baby is expected to walk by the age of 15 months maximum, and if it is not walking at around 20 months, so we can say the baby is like delayed by 5 to 6 months. But by providing the proper early intervention stimulation and all, if the baby catches that milestone, it will not look back. Means for 1 or 2 particular milestones it was little delayed, and once it overcomes, there won't be any delay or hindrance in the child's development. That is called as only developmental delay. See, like in early intervention, like we do catch such babies also who are having only delayed milestone, and like we analyze them, why they are delayed, what are the hindrances that are creating the delay in their development, and we work on those prerequisites that are required for promoting the particular milestone approach. And when it comes to the developmental disability, so this begins anytime during the developmental period and it lasts for the lifelong. Okay, developmental period means from conception to the age of 18 years. At like most of the cases, the developmental disabilities will be starting from the womb itself, but some can happen immediately after birth or due to several other reasons. See, like different in the new RPD Act, like we have categorized around 21 different disabilities, but in day-to-day early intervention practice, no, these are the common disabilities that we come across. Like out of all the disabilities, like I would like to share one thing, autism is the one which is very fastly growing, means like its prevalence is very fastly increasing. So like apart from autism, we do have ADHD, visual impairment, hearing impairment, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome, then some emotional disturbance babies, and babies associated, developmental delays associated with the epilepsy, learning disability, and cognitive impairment or intellectual disability, and speech language communication delay, and spina bifida, traumatic brain injury, and other combinations of multiple disabilities. Like now once we know like these are the different various types of disabilities do exist, so like we will be thinking like any layman will think ki, what are the causes for this, like we grossly categorize these causes into prenatal, natal and postnatal causes. Like prenatal causes right from the conception till entire pregnancy, like what are the different causes. So those are like right from the age we can have the different causes. Like earlier what we used to feel like underage girls like less than 16 year, less than 15 year getting married, and they will be conceiving very fast, that is less than 18 years if they are carrying. So definitely the baby is having improper growth and development, and maybe it is at risk for the disabilities. It was very known fact. Even now it is holding good in the rural areas and low socio-economical conditions. But now one more condition or one more component is added to the age factor. So hope everyone agree with me that if I mention about the elderly primaries, means by the now that because of no gender bias and like all the promotion that is given for the females also to get educate and get the career oriented and settle well in their respective professions, like getting married and like childbearing will be little postponed. So very conveniently what happens, by the time any urban lady or a educated lady plans for a marriage and conception or childbearing, they will be around 30 or crossing 30 years. That is a very common phenomenon now. So what happens, because of this elderly primary, so many complications will be there in the child development. First of all, you might be very well aware about how many infertility centers are there in each town. Earlier per state, like maybe in the capital of the state, like 2 3 you used to see or hear, but now slowly it entered every district. Now even the small towns are having multiple number of infertility centers. What I mean to say, age plays a major role. Like now why I'll tell you, like in previous generation, like we used to see the age of menarche or the first menstruation used to be like around 14 15 16. Solely like what happened, like because of so many factors, hormonal factors and awareness, everything, no, the menarche age came down to 9, like 9 10 11 maximum. So now anytime after the age of 9 years your daughter can get mature, this everyone is aware of. Okay, so like for that matter, like if 10 is the average age of menarche, and till the 30 years, long 20 years, your body and its reproductive system is idle. Idle in the sense it doesn't have much work. So like what happens, our body is having something called negative feedback mechanism, and everyone will be developing the hormonal imbalance, and slowly what happens, like conception becomes a challenge. So infertility is a common cause, and even if you try through the different measures like IVF and all, the success rate of having a normal baby is getting reduced slowly. Apart from this, like the expecting mothers physical build, the general health matters a lot. Like nowadays you can see like every in any institution you take for that matter, 20 plus 25 plus girls, like it is very common to have some or the other health issues. Like common one are like obesity, then diabetes mellitus, hypothyroidism is very common in even the teenage girls now. Even in the school age children also we are seeing the hypothyroidism very common, hypertension, and out of all this, like outcome is like PCOD in the girls, like polycystic ovarian diseases. All these preconceptual health conditions will be having a greater impact on the conception as well as the child's development, I mean baby's development in the womb. So now coming to the infections which are causing the problem in the bearing as well as the development in the uterus. So those are the common infections are torch infections. This is the abbreviation. Like in the long form it is like toxoplasmosis, rubella, cytomegalovirus as well as herpes. See, in O stands for other infections which encompasses the sexually transmitted diseases. See, like all these infections, common infections, they will be having a greater impact on the pregnancy if the pregnant lady will be getting infected in the first 3 months. If the first 3 months lady is catching any one of these infection, the impact of these infection will be very high. So like those babies may turn into the multiple disability babies, or more than one or two system will be involved. So when it comes to the first 3 months, it is very important, like how we call, no, in early intervention, 0 to 3 years are very much important or significant for the child's development. Similarly, for the intrauterine life, first 3 months are very much essential. So in those first 3 months, any like teratogenic effects like infections will be causing a very bad impact on the baby's development of the parts and the system. So like all these infections can cause any variety of disability. Just to name some, like for example, rubella is there. Like if rubella infection happens to the pregnant mother in first 3 months, definitely that newborn will be going to have something called as congenital rubella syndrome, where the microcephaly will be there and both the eyes will be having the congenital cataracts, or the like what we call in layman this thing, like a layer will be formed on the lens or the opacity of the lens. And also the intellectual disability, at times they will be associated with the autism, and like it is like a multiple disability child. Also because of all these things, some of these congenital rubella syndrome may be having very much slow locomotor development. So this is one example. Now friends, like I would like to share one more thing. Like when we know these are the reasons for upcoming problems in the childbearing as well as the child rearing, so it could be very well attempted to prevent. So this will be called as primary prevention, means like we are not allowing the disability to occur. So like how to extend the hand towards preventing these torch infections are, like we do have a test, blood test called as torch test. If you do it between the 12 months to 16 months of the pregnancy, 12 weeks to 16 weeks of the pregnancy, we will come to know what are the antibody levels for different respective infections. Like if the IgM infection antibodies are very high, so as per the impact of the particular infection that is going to cause, like doctors will be, gynecologists will be suggesting the pregnant lady to terminate the pregnancy, because it is very well known that this particular infection is going to hamper this particular system and the baby is going to have this particular disability. So like knowing about all these infection status well in advance, right from the 12 weeks to 16 weeks in the pregnancy, we can prevent all these causes for the disability. Similarly, we do have some genetic like disorders, where very common one is Down syndrome. Like still we do get the babies, like very small babies, 2 months, 3 months babies with the Down syndrome. Actually, it has to be a news if a Down syndrome baby is born, because like we do have a preventive technique in the like for the Down syndrome, like something called as triple marker or quadruple marker test is there, like where you will be screening out the possibility of risk for this Down syndrome. Not only Down syndrome, through the triple marker test, we can identify whether there is risk for Down syndrome, that is trisomy 21, then trisomy 18, that is Edwards syndrome, then trisomy 13, that is Patau syndrome, or are there going to be any neural tube defects. See, like totally through the torch as well as through this like triple marker test, more than 10-12 causes for disability will be prevented. So this is an attempt towards the primary prevention. If the government makes all these things mandatory in the government hospitals, we can reduce the prevalence of disability to the major extent. Other causes will be like RH incompatibility, like where the mother is having negative blood group. first pregnancy will not be having a major issue, but due to the admixture of the blood during the first pregnancy, I mean delivery, or any MTP is done, what happens, the subsequent pregnancies will be affected badly. Like provided the injection called anti-D sera is taken periodically during the pregnancy, babies who will be born to the Rh negative mothers and they are Rh positive, then the baby will be going to get a congenital jaundice. Means like destruction of RBCs will take place and the bilirubin level will be very high. So at times, like if it crosses the maximum level and reaches the level where the blood transfusion has to be done, so the condition is called as kernicterus. Then what happens, this high level of bilirubin will be entering the brain by crossing the blood brain barrier, and it will be attacking the basal ganglia and other areas. So all these are very much important areas for the locomotor development or the motor development. So like we can very well predict, the baby who is having high level of bilirubin levels for the longer period will be at risk for developing the cerebral palsy, and even the hearing impairment. Some of the drugs which are consumed by the pregnant lady without the doctor's consultation, so may cause the like difficulty in the fetus. Like anti-malarials are there, some of the antibiotics, some of the medicines taken for the morning sickness, all they will be causing some or the other disability in the fetus. So some professional hazards will be there, occupational hazards will be there, where the ladies, pregnant ladies will be coming across the chemicals and the different poisons, and continuous exposure to those things will be causing the disability in the babies. And one very important cause is like exposure to the X-rays. Like X-ray is very bad in terms of fetal growth, because like these rays will be damaging the fetus in the uterus, and the baby will be born with multiple disability. So like always you might be seeing it is written on the outside the X-ray room that pregnant ladies are not allowed inside. Because I would like to share some experience. Like I had a lady who came with multiple disability baby, and like I'm having the habit of digging the history, taking to the extent I feel yes, this could be the reason for the condition of the child. This is how we learn with the every child. So like with that particular baby, I came to know like they were educated parents, and I couldn't trace, yes, this was maybe it is a preterm, nothing like low birth weight, no, that was also not reason. I went on ruling out one after the other, and but the condition of the baby was very well telling me that there is some particular reason for it. Then lastly I just threw a question, were you exposed to any X-rays? Okay, then suddenly like that baby was almost 2 years 9 months when it came to us. Then suddenly the mother remembered that just before the conception, no, mother had a renal calculi, renal stone. So she consulted the family physician. She did an ultrasound and said that like, yeah, you are having a renal calculi. And because she was a family doctor, like she shared one more information, your ovum is ready to get mature and release. So you can use this cycle, because they were planning. So it happens, okay, like then she referred to a nephrologist. He took an X-ray, and within 2 days, like she conceived also. So means that particular matured ovum which got exposed to the X-ray participated in the fertilization, and that was the outcome of the that particular fertilization, and the baby was multiple handicap. So like all these things, if we keep in attention and we rule out all the causes for these disabilities, we can prevent the fastly increasing prevalence of the disability. And also last but not least, the mental status or emotional health of the pregnant lady is very much important to have a proper growth of the fetus inside. Coming to the natal causes is like any causes that are happening during the labor and immediately after the labor. So common one are like prolonged labor, like where the mother is not cooperating for the labor activity and she is not pushing the baby effectively, and it is getting delayed and arrested labor. The head of the baby will be stuck in the pelvic rim of the mother, and the pressure effect will cause the neuronal damage, and the baby will be subsequently having the different types of disabilities. Majorly these will be having the cerebral palsy and other, like even for that matter like hearing impairment also may cause, and the speech language developmental delay also we can observe. And abnormal presentation, like if it is a breech presentation or if it is a transverse presentation, which will make the labor very much prolonged, and lastly they will make a decision to go for a C-section. So all this labor duration, no, if it is lengthened, so more the prolongation, more will be the risk of disability. And sometimes we do have the babies like having a cord around the neck. So like if cord around the neck, there will be a consistent pressure on the neck, and the major arteries supplying to the brain will be compressed, and the oxygen supply reduced to the brain will cause any type of disability. And twins or multiple disabilities are one of the major cause. Like you can see, like in twins or triplets, one or the other baby will be having some type of disability or developmental delays. Similarly, forceps or vacuum deliveries may cause damage to the brain, and they may get into disability. And any injury immediately after the birth, no, like if the baby skips from the hand and head gets against the floor, and such type of injuries may cause the intracranial hemorrhages, so which will be leading to the seizures, neonatal seizures and the disability later. And any premature deliveries, and for that matter post-term deliveries also are risky for the development, normal development of the child. One more very important one is delayed birth cry. So delayed birth cry, like not much of emphasis is given on the birth cry. Like it is very much important to know whether your newborn had cried immediately after the birth or not, because our brain cannot sustain more than 3 minutes without the oxygen and glucose level. So what happens, what is so significant about the birth cry? So like as soon as the baby comes out, it will be crying, because the air enters the lungs, and once it is exhaled out, it passes through the vocal cords, and the first cry will be made. And that first cry is so brisk that like it will be like, we do have 4 bones over our vault. These 4 bones in the womb, they are approximate to each other. Okay, they are near to each other. So because of this first cry, what happens, these 4 bones will be separating out because of that intracranial pressure which is produced due to that cry. So what is the significance of this opening of 4 bones? Everyone is aware that the top of the head of the baby is having something called as anterior fontanelle, or a soft area which is in a diamond shape. So existence of this anterior fontanelle is very much important for the normal brain development of the baby, because friends, like whatever number of neurons we are having at birth, that is for the lifetime. Means whatever n number of neurons you are having, they will be there for the lifetime. Like in between pruning will be happening, that is different, but nerve cells will not be regenerating like any other cells, like skin cells, muscles, liver cells, hair. So like how they regenerate, no, our nerve cells will not be regenerating. Even then, like why the size of the head will be, brain will be increasing in the babies? So you must be wondering, it's because of the n number of connections that are made between the neurons or brain cells. So like these number of neurons will be determining the intellectual capacities of the baby and the development of the baby. So like if this anterior fontanelle is not formed effectively, even if your brain is trying to expand or make more neurons, there is no space to occupy. So because your skull bones are close to each other, there is no space, so your growth will be stunted. So like having this anterior fontanelle is very much important. And postnatal causes, like most of the babies will come across the neonatal infections in the hospitals, so which will be causing to high fever and seizures or convulsions. Like these will be very much prone for having any developmental disabilities in the near future. And the first sucking reflex is also very much important, which will determine the nutritional status of the newborn. So what happens, like sucking reflex is something which is very much well matured at the birth. Like sucking is like feeding is the basic instinct. So like as soon as you put even your finger, no, like baby will start the reflexively it will start sucking, irrespective whether it is your finger or nipple of the mother. So if this sucking reflex is poor, always we should be alarmed that something is disturbed or something is alarming in the neurodevelopment of this particular baby, and we should be like, one is delayed birth cry and the poor sucking reflex. We have to alarm the parents that you have to watch your baby's development, and you have to track the development till your baby will be walking and talking. If we make this much small effort to share the information, those parents will be very much conscious, so that like any little deviation from the normal development, no, they will be approaching the pediatrician. So like we being very, I mean medical professionals being very much alert about all these things, giving the awareness about the baby's development. So these small contribution will be a greater extent in order to prevent the disability. And like apart from these infections and nutritional status, what other causes are very much common to make the disability is like neonatal jaundice, as we discussed earlier. Like it will be like causing the brain damage, and they will be developing the cerebral palsy. Neonatal jaundice, neonatal seizures, hypoglycemia, reduced sugar level, hypocalcemia, reduced calcium levels, hypothermia, that is reduced temperature, body temperature of the newborn, and some of the congenital factors like endocrinal disorders and the metabolic disorders. Like among endocrinal disorders, congenital hypothyroidism is the very common thing. So every newborn has to be screened for the thyroid profile. It is very very least cost effective test. It is hardly 450 to 600 it will be varying. And if you screen every baby for the hypothyroidism, what happens, if you can identify hypothyroidism within the first 3 weeks and start the medicines, your baby can be as intelligent as Newton and Einstein. Means that baby will not be having any developmental delay, because we are not allowing the impact of hypothyroidism to affect the baby's development, because we are catching it early and starting. Similarly, among the metabolic disorders, PKU or phenylketonuria. So if phenylketonuria is identified immediately after the birth, we can put that baby on the formula food, and we can prevent the developmental disability that is going to take place. See, like when we know all these are the different causes for disability to occur, then how we will come to know early? Okay, like what is our duty? Like see, MRI scans or CT scans will not let you know about the functionality of the brain. Through the MRI and CT scan, we will come to know the structural deformities or any anatomical problems or any organic issues are there. Those will be visible on the frames. But regarding the functions of the development of the brain, only the child's development and the milestones will speak us. Okay, like whether your baby is growing normally or whether it is slow by several months or whether it is associated with some serious conditions. Like common areas that you will find which are going to get affected due to all these reasons are like socialization, their emotional development, speech language development, cognitive development, and also the motor development or the physical development. See, for all these development to take place, Some other development is very much important, or it is a very evident prerequisite, that is sensory development. See, like this holds good for every newborn, not only abnormal babies or like babies born with some developmental delay. Like all the areas of development, no, they are determined by the visual development and the auditory development. Vision is the major gate for the stimulation. So like if you adequately stimulate the vision, so see all these developmental areas, no, like they are interconnected. Like I'll just try to explain with one example. Like if baby is affected with the vision, or like it is having visual impairment, what happens? Baby is not having any motivation to look at the objects. Like if you dangle some objects in front, if the baby is having proper vision around 1.5 2 months, like it will be raising the neck to look at that object which is dangling in front. So like by doing this repeated actions, no, the neck muscles will be strengthened and baby will attain the neck holding in time. So if vision is affected, your neck control will be delayed. So what happens, like means what I mean to say, ki vision has a greater impact on the physical development or the motor development. Once your motor development is affected, so what is going to happen? Baby will not be crawling in time, and it will not be reaching to the objects in time, and there will be lot of delay in creeping, crawling, sitting, and walking. So what happens? Their environmental exploration will be affected. Because of this environmental exploration reduced, and baby is unable to reach the objects and explore them properly and learn something, your cognition is going to get affected. Once your cognition is affected, definitely your speech language communication will be delayed. So because you have poor speech and language development, that baby will not be socially bonding with the front person, and there won't be a proper emotional bonding with them. What I mean to say, each area will be affecting the other area or influencing the other area, and also gets influenced by the other area. So like when we are focusing, like when we are assessing any child who is approaching us, they may be coming only for the motor development. Child is not bearing the head, or child is not walking properly, or child is not speaking. So but as early intervention professionals, what we will be doing, we will be assessing the baby from all the areas. Then only we can aim or like plan the program for the all-round development of the child. So what are the early like common disabilities or developmental disabilities which we come across? Like we will discuss about the autism, ADHD, cerebral palsy, fetal alcoholic syndrome, and some of the genetic syndromes, like, and what are their red flags. In case of autism spectrum disorder, like as we all know, like the main areas that are going to get affected are socialization, communication, and behavior and play development. What happens, like if the child is not having the proper socialization, it will not get properly bond with the mother, and it will not read the front face, and it will not be learning from the mother. See, autism itself indicates it is being in its own world or being self-centered. Means they don't feel any need to communicate with the others, like even immediately the mother as well as the family members also. So like very see nowadays, like you might be reading everywhere, it could be diagnosed between 18 months to 36 months and all, but we do catch the babies who are at risk for, like how you call it, for like risk for developmental delay. Similarly, we call them as risk for autism, even less than 12 months also. Like if you catch them early, you can intervene them very effectively. So then what are those early signs? Very early signs of autism we can see in the infancy are following. These babies, no, like normally, typically growing babies, maximum by 2 months, they should be because their central vision will be developing, and they can look at the center of the mother's face. Earlier they will be looking at only the periphery, only they can see the hair and the periphery of the face. But by the end of 2 months, now very healthy babies, exactly by 1.5 months also they develop this. By that time, what happens, the cones will be developing or maturing in the eyes, and the central vision will be matured, and baby can look at the eyes of the mother, and as soon as it looks at the eyes, it will throw a smile. We thought before they establish any social smile, mothers and caregivers will be looking at the babies, talking and smiling, everything, every effort will be going on. But one fine moment, baby will start exchanging the social smile and establishing the eye contact. And once it is done, baby will not look back till certain age, 5 months, 6 months. No, every time you look at the baby, every whoever it is, like family members or others, no, it will be exchanging the smile, cuddling them, everything will be there. But whenever these babies are born with the spectrum disorder inside, so they will be failing to establish this eye contact and the social smile in time. Even if it is established, they will not be consistent in throwing the social smile. But like parents will be like, they are satisfied whatever small little thing the baby does, no, it is just a celebration to the new mother and father. So like they can't, like their heart will not be accepting that something could be abnormal with the child's development. So like they just ignore if the baby is not smiling every time, if the baby is not establishing the eye contact. So like if we know the proper normal development, no, we can catch them very early, and we can stimulate them to the greater extent that like they will not be affected much with these spectrum disorders. Similarly, what other symptoms we can see are, this is the very early symptom I can say, like so other symptoms like how the baby will be growing, it will not be developing the stranger anxiety in time. What does it mean? Like around 5 months, 6 months, till 5 months, 6 months, baby will be going to everyone, whoever is carrying it. After that, once it starts differentiating between the family members and the outsiders, it will not be going to the every outsider that easily. Only to the known faces, parents and the family members it will go. But when any outsider picks the baby, no, it will start crying. That means baby has developed the stranger anxiety because it has the normal socialization inside. So if the baby is at risk for social development, then these babies who are going to develop autism, they will not be having this stranger anxiety in time, and they will be going to each and every one. Even here in the early intervention center, like around 1.5 year, 2 years also, in this new environment, when I ask them to leave the baby and move away from the room and stay away for 2 to 5 minutes, this baby will not be affected. It will be playing with some particular object in its own world. So what I mean to say, they are socially not growing appropriately, so their bonding and emotional attachment with the parents and family members is badly affected. So they are unaffected, and they are very much independent in their approach. They don't like baby when has to develop the first word. Before that only, if it wants something, how it will express, like still the first word development is not there, but how the baby will be expressing the need, it will be pointing at the objects, it will show the balloon, it will show the ball and point at it, so that mother will be giving. Baby knows, if I point at, my mother will be providing that to me. This factor is badly missing in the child who is at risk for autism. So baby will never feel my mother is there to fulfill my all needs, so it will never attempt to point and ask. Instead, what the baby will be doing, 1.5 year baby, it will take the table or stool, chair, and it will climb on that. It will try to attain the object on its own. These are the very early indications. But as parents, what we feel, these are very positive points of the child, because we feel the child is so able that like it has the idea how to reach that object which is away from the height. So like small things like looking at the fan, no, as soon as the switch is on, so baby can relate and it can look at the spinning objects. But the issue is with the behavior issue, like it will be interested in the rotating objects, or sometimes baby may be staring at the space, empty space, like looking at the empty space or looking at the lights or looking at the moving objects through the window, or it may observe the lint that is coming out from the window in the hot sun. So all these small observations, if we do, we can catch the autism very early. Later, like how the baby develops, no, it may align the objects because they will not be playing with the toys appropriately. Means otherwise neurotypical kids, they will be interested in the new toys whatever the parents are getting, and they want to explore, dismantle and assemble them, and they will learn whatever possible things from that toy, and then they will be waiting for the other toy. So but these kids, no, they will be sticking to one or two particular toys, and they are no more having any interest in the new toys, and they will not be playing appropriately. Instead, like see, like in the picture you can see this is a tower of the rings, but he has to assemble them one over the other. Instead, the baby was doing aligning them in a single line and disturbing again and again, aligning again, disturbing. This will go for several times. Means baby will be indulging in repetitive activities right from the very infant and toddlerhood, which we have to observe very keenly and get alarmed and get the baby screened whether it is falling under the spectrum disorder. And the baby will not be babbling properly because it doesn't observe the front face, and it will not be reading the expressions from the front face. So what happens, like its attention span is very less, and baby will not be reading the lip movements of the mother. If the mother is teaching papa, mama, like it has to look at the face, it has to read the lips, and it has to understand the intent of the mother, that she is expecting me to repeat the same thing. That connectivity is very badly missing, so baby will fail to develop the babbling in the right time. So even at the age of 2 years, they will not be able to join two words and frame the small phrases. So like speech language developmental delay is a major component of the spectrum disorder. At times you feel the baby is having some hearing impairment because mother will be calling the baby's name several times, baby will not respond. But surprisingly, if mother says come and pick up the chocolate, so baby will immediately turn. Or else baby is badly like involved in some activity and it is not responding to the name call, suddenly it's particular advertisement or some music starts in the TV, immediately baby will come running even from the other room. So what does it indicate? The baby is having selective attention. Means it is interested in particular slices of areas, and it will be responding correctly to only those stimulations. Like otherwise what happens, typically growing kids, like though they are engaged in the particular activity, they know how to filter out and attend the other stimulus also, but here they fail. And similarly, when the mother is attempting to show something, like look at the bird on the tree or look at the moon in the sky, like mother wants the baby to look at, but the baby is not understanding what the mother is expecting her to do. So baby will be lost, like it will either look beyond the object which is pointed, or it will be just stagnant around the mother's bangle, ring or something, but it can't understand like what exactly the mother is pointing at. This is something called as joint attention. These babies will be very much poor in the joint attention. These are the, what I'm trying to make you understand is, these are the very early red flags to identify the autism at the earliest. Now coming to the red flags of the ADHD, like how these babies will be presenting themselves. They act before thinking, like, so like there is always a turbulence in their mind, like they can't concentrate on one particular activity or one particular item. So instead they will be changing the activities very frequently. If an ADHD child comes, no, you are all items will be scattered around the room, and it will not be enjoying, baby will not enjoy one particular item then switch to other. No, it will be just opening and immediately it gets attracted by the something else and it will be jumping to that. So what does it indicate? They have very little attention span, so that will be affecting their concentration levels, and child will be very much affected by the in terms of learning from the environment and the front person. So this will be hindering the adaptive behavior in long term. So it has like very much impulsive type of behavior, like it will be bumping into the objects, it will be moving from here and there, like it is very difficult to make the baby sit in a place for minimum required period also, like to feed or to make the child to play something. So this you can see, like if you pick out the history, no, like some of the mothers have also shared the information that their intrauterine movements were also very brisk or very high, because like especially the whoever is the second time mother of this ADHD child, no, she can relate it to the previous pregnancy, and she was telling even in the womb also this baby was very much hyperactive or like continuously kicking from the inside. So these are the very early red flags. And coming to the cerebral palsy, like I'm picking up those disabilities which are commonly seen. So like cerebral palsy is very much common, and what do you mean by cerebral palsy? This is paralysis of the brain. So this is something which is non-progressive in nature. Now, that means like whatever is the impact of that cerebral palsy is there in the birth, no? So that will not be going on worsening, like it will be remaining same. So, like basic things which are going to get affected in the cerebral palsy are movements and the coordination of the muscles and the muscle strength which will be affected. So, their muscle tone is either high or low. They don't have the normal muscle strength. So, accordingly, they will be segregated as hypertonic or hypotonic in nature. And this will be leading to the poor balance and posture of the body. So, like, now what are the very early signs in the cerebral palsy? How will you identify them in infanthood? That is very much important. See, like, we should not wait till the baby is not now standing independently, baby is not walking independently. You should be a very keen observer. This is the first, like, we have to have something called as developmental approach in our pediatrics, so that we can catch these early symptoms even at the age of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. So we can like plan the program very effectively. See, like, just if this is a normal baby, you are seeing, see, like normal baby, if you put it in the prone position, hold it in the prone position, this is the position you can see. If it comes to the spastic child, see, like the spastic child will be very much stiff. Its head and neck will be moving back and the legs will be going back. We call it as the opisthotonous position. Means very much stiff muscles and stiff joints will be there, and baby will be bending backwards. In case of hypotonic babies or floppy children, if you hold it in the prone position, see, it is like a inverted U. Means it will be like hanging over, or it is very floppy in nature. Means the very early assessment also can give a thought whether this is going to be a hypertonic or hypotonic baby. And all these spastic children usually will be having excessive lethargy or irritability, and they will be crying because more your muscles will be very stiff. There is lot of irritation in the brain. More the stiffness and tightness, more will be the irritation, so the baby will be crying. So if we understand it in a very early stage, what as early interventionists we do, like opisthotonous position I mentioned, no, we will teach the parents how to break that opisthotonous position and keep the baby in a very smooth, with a very smooth muscle tone, so that the irritability is reduced and the baby is keeping calm. If the baby is irritated, it will not learn anything from the environment. And slowly, like how they will be expressing, they will be having delayed head control, and they will be having very poor sucking and tongue thrust. You may see, like, repeatedly they will be putting their tongue in and out like this. So upper motor neuron difficulty, like disturbances will be causing these all tongue thrust, or tonic bite will be there, and feeding difficulty. Every time you feed, it will take a very long time, and they will be drooling very excessively. See, still earlier, like what the pediatricians and neonatologists will be identifying these are through the primitive reflexes, like delayed integration or non-integration of the primitive reflexes, what we call ATNR, Moro's, STNR. All these reflexes have the specific time for the integration, and if that is delayed, we are going to get the doubt that this child is developing the expressing the cerebral palsy. Coming to the fetal alcoholic syndrome, so like wherever the consumption of alcohol is more, through the even before the pregnancy and through the pregnancy, these babies will be born with very low birth weight, and they will be having poor sucking reflex, and they will be having cognitive deficit during the development. You can identify baby is not learning properly, baby is not living up to the age appropriate milestones. So you can also see the difficulty in vision and hearing also. Like altogether, this baby will be going to develop intellectual disability, and if possible, like some cases, no, they do have the locomotor problems, like because you can see the comparison how the alcohol is going to affect the baby's brain. If this is the normal brain, you can see the brain of the fetal alcoholic syndrome babies will be like this. Now coming to the genetic and chromosomal disorders. Friends, you will be surprised if I say that there are more than 3,000 different genetic disorders which are associated with the intellectual disability or mental retardation. But they may be chromosomal disorder, chromosomal numerical disorders, or structural disorder, or they may be single gene disorders also. But I would like to highlight on very common syndromes which we see in the day-to-day practice in the field of disability rehabilitation. They are Down syndrome, then the second common is Fragile X syndrome, then Cre-Du-Chat syndrome, Klinefelter and Turner syndrome, Angelman and Prader-Willi syndrome. Very brief, like this may be for most of you people, it may be a very new information. Just try to like understand. See, Down syndrome is some known as like trisomy 21, or where it indicates that there is one extra chromosome in the 21st pair of the chromosomes. Like we all so-called normal people, how many chromosomes we have? We are having 46 chromosomes, means 23 pairs. One coming from the mother, one coming from the father. First pair, second pair, third pair, fourth pair, like that we have 23 pairs. That is total 46 chromosomes. What happens in the Down syndrome? In Down syndrome, when it comes to the 21st pair, instead of 2, you do have a third one. So it is called as trisomy 21. So in trisomy 21, just because one chromosome is extra in number, right from the phenotypical features or external appearance, the systemic development of the baby, like cardiac system, respiratory system, their endocrinology system, every system, right from the skin and the hair, everything will be altered. So these newborns of Down syndrome also easily understandable or like recognizable by the external phenotypical features. So like it is a very in-depth topic if we discuss from where that one extra chromosome comes. To narrate it in a very simple layman word, because one has to come from mother, one has to come from father. Means mother's ovum has to carry one chromosome, 21st chromosome. Mother's sperm has to carry one 21st chromosome. But either of these, either the ovum or the sperm, instead of one, they are carrying two. Means two 21st chromosomes are there. And if they participate in the fertilization, one more, like if the ovum is having two chromosomes by mistake, so that mistake has taken place in the meiotic cell division. It is more in depth. So just restricting myself that saying the ovum is having two chromosomes of 21st, and the sperm will carry one more. So instead of two, the baby is going to have 3 chromosomes. That will cause entire changes in the baby's appearance as well as the functioning. And all these Down syndrome babies will be associated with the mental retardation. Their cognitive development cannot reach the average intelligence. These children with Down syndrome, no, so they will be right from the beginning, they will be having very floppy body. Their muscle tone is very smooth. So like what are the external features? Like these are the external features. They have very small head, transverse diameter is high, very short neck. You can see this chubby baby with the Down syndrome here. Like their neck will be very short, their nose will be very short. The like space between two eyes is very wide. We call it in medical terminology hypertelorism. And their eyes are also like Mongolian babies, no, they have upward slanting eyes, and the fold nearing the I mean nose, that is epicanthal fold, is persistent for a longer period. And they have very thin upper lip. Their tongue is very thick and always it is protruding outside, because their oral cavity, mouth cavity is very small, and high arched palate will be there. Comparatively, their tongue is very thick, and because of the pressure effect, it will be trying to come outside, and these babies will be always having the protruding tongue. Also, you can see in the palm, these are the common features. And in the palm, like these three lines will not be, creases will not be there in either of the hand, or like in both the hands you can see one single simian crease. See, like other creases will be missing here. And coming to, and their fingers are also, palm and fingers are very short and plumpy in nature. And coming to the toes, you can see the greater distance between the greater toe and the second toe, the gap where you can introduce your one more thumb. Otherwise, they are approximate like this. You can't introduce your thumb. Here, the gap between the greater toe and the second toe is very high. Similarly, we do have Cre du Chat syndrome here. I will be quickly covering these things because intervention part we will be focusing more. Here, the deletion in the fifth chromosome of the baby will be there, and because of this fifth deleted region, fifth chromosome deleted region, baby will be expressing in terms of microcephaly and cognitive delay, as well as it will be having a very high pitch cat-like cry will be there, and also they are born with a very low birth weight. Coming to the Klinefelter syndrome, usually it is appearing in the males, and one extra X chromosome will be there, and it is identified quite late, like unless and until you do the karyotyping for some reason in the infancy or toddlerhood, you will not be able to identify this. So it will be identified at the puberty. And Turner syndrome, see, like we were all talking about one extra 21, one extra X chromosome. Only Turner syndrome is one syndrome where one chromosome is less. Instead of 46, we are having only 45 chromosome. One X chromosome is missing, and because of that, what you can see, the short neck and the neck and shoulder will be having a web-like skin fold that we call it as a web neck. And their hands are like proportion of the arm and the forearm will be disturbed, and they have deformities in their elbows. Their nipples are like very widely spaced, or they are far apart, and skin will be having the different colored spots on the skin, and this all happens due to the mitotic non-distension. Angelman syndrome is a syndrome where the babies will be very much like unnecessary, like without any reason, irrelevantly, they will be like smiling like angel. Always they have a angel-like face with a smiling smile always persistent on their face. This happens because of the deletion in the 15th chromosome, which comes from the mother side. Okay, deletion happens in the mother's copy of the 15th chromosome. So they do have the mental retardation and speech delay. Hardly they will attain any speech in their development, and continuously they will be laughing. Similarly, Prader-Willi syndrome, like how I said, 15th chromosome, this is also 15th chromosome deletion, micro deletion, but the chromosome which is coming from the father is having the deletion. See how much is the difference. If the chromosomal part which is deleted from the father's copy, the entire syndrome is changing. It is called as Prader-Willi syndrome, and it is having severe obesity. We have seen 1.5 year babies, and we have referred them for genetic assessment, and got the result reports also saying that baby is having the Prader-Willi syndrome. Like they will be very much obese, they don't have satiation feeling, so they will be keeping on hogging for the food, and they do develop the obesity and later on related problems. And Fragile X syndrome is the second commonest syndrome which is which which is very much common with the mental retardation. Excuse me. So, like this Fragile X syndrome will be having the elongated face, prominent ears, and the bluish eyes. All this will be making the appearance very abnormal. See, friends, like what I would like to say is like what all syndromes we discuss, no, like they are all, if they are live birth, the disparity in the genetic material is less than 2%. If it is more than 2%, human body will feel that it is not a human species, and those product of conception or pregnancy will be aborted because the disparity in the genetics is more than 2%. Then what is the ray of hope? It is nothing but early intervention. In all these conditions, like early intervention is nothing but catching them early, identifying their symptoms and providing the intervention. And this is possible during the 0 to 3 years very effectively. Earlier to me, like Dr. Shravan Reddy explained about the neuroplasticity and all. So that all holds good for why 0 to 3 is called as a critical period. This is the definition of early intervention, the introduction of planned program deliberately timed and arranged in order to alter the anticipated or projected course of development. Means early intervention program is always tailor-made. So like why it is so important having the early intervention? Because the brain is having maximum capacity to produce the new synapse formation in this particular period. And if particular group of cells are affected, the surrounding cells will be learning that new skill. So like every scope for the development for the milestones is there because the latent cells will be like stimulated and they will be taking over this new work. See, you and me, like normal people know, we are not even using the 20% of our brain capacities. Means hardly 17 to 18 we are using and we are so-called normal. And like if those latent cells, if we provide the systemic intervention or stimulation, they can get the development properly, and that is possible in the 0 to 3 years very effectively. And also the myelination or like myelin sheath formation on the nerve cells will be completed by 2 years. And most of the personality traits, like as a grown up he will be like this, he will be a very difficult to manage child, he will be a very he's going to be an intelligent child. So parents will be like elders will be giving their comments, no, because they can see those traits which are there in the 0 to 3, they get established by this time. So the 0 to 3 is called as very critical period. It is a period where you can make or break. See, like unlike all other parts of the body, no, brain is very much underdeveloped at the birth, and it will be developing only through the stimulation. See, like this holds good for everyone, like even a neurotypical baby also, it will be developing because of the stimulation. Just one example, if any newborn, no, you blindfold it, like you just cover the eyes with the cloth and don't open it for 2 months, and once at the end of 2 months when you open, no, your the baby's retina will be damaged and baby will never be able to see for the lifetime. Why? What it indicates? Because your vision and optic pathway and retina will be getting matured with the stimulation. Stimulation in the form of what? Light rays entering the eye. I'm just giving one example. This holds good for all the other systems or developmental areas. Like if you restrict the stimulation, there won't be any growth and the baby is going to become handicapped. So like provision of proper sensory stimulation is nothing but early intervention. Early intervention is sensory stimulation. If you make all the senses get adequate experiences, that will be creating the normal development and baby will be having the proper all-round development. At birth, the baby will be having only 100 billion neurons, or 50%, only 15% of the connections are made, yet to get 85% of the connections. And by the end of 3 years of the age, baby will be having 10,000 connections for each neuron, and that is like around 1,000 trillion connections, which are 2 million miles in the length. At one stage of brain development, extra connections will be shed off or pruning will take place. So, like whenever the baby comes with all these developmental disabilities, delayed milestones, or associated conditions, what we do as early intervention experts, we frame the individualized early intervention program with the help of all the group members and therapists, like physiotherapists, speech therapists, like early intervention experts, occupation therapists, psychiatrists, pediatricians, all together. Like we will assess the baby and we frame out the home-based planning for all-round development of the baby. And what are the factors that we have to consider while planning is like whether what are the strengths of the baby, like what it is blessed with, whether its sensory abilities are normal or not, whether it is having any associated condition like epilepsy or other medical issues, and how is the family involvement, how many members are there in the family, what are the interpersonal relationships within the family, how much support the parents of the affected baby is are getting, and what are the socio-economical condition of the, simply like we can't make them refer here, refer there, and spill the money and like you will get the intervention. That is not possible. Even you don't even, apart from the medications, like you need not even spend a single pie to enhance the normal development of the baby. Like we should be well equipped or well knowledge to guide the parents without any expenses how to stimulate their babies for the different developmental areas. Like what we do in early intervention, we screen them, we identify the early symptoms, and we analyze the strength and need analysis will be done, like what are the strengths and what are the needs and what are the highest functioning capacities in different areas of development. Then accordingly we will plan the program and we will teach the parents how they have to do. Why parents are required here? Because whatever planned program we do know, so that will be tailor made for that particular baby, and we explain the parents that you have to do this particular activity for 4 to 5 times per day, this for 3 to 4 5 times per day, like this. Like we provide them the prescribed formation. So what happens, like if you do it repeatedly, brain will learn it very effectively. A simple thing, like if you give one page of speech, no, if you read it daily once, you may take 1 month to by heart it. If you daily read it for 10 to 15 times, within 2 days, 3 days, you will be like getting that speech because your brain has learned it. Means more the repetition, faster will be the development. So the parents' involvement in the planned program is very much evident, and we do practice here. Whatever planned program is there, we train the parents to execute on their babies who are in need. So, like we aim at the stimulation through the normal development and prevention of the developmental delay by stimulating in a proper way and minimizing the abnormalities which are present, like the posture balance abnormalities. If the TA tightness is there, we teach them how to prevent it. If the baby is getting lost in its own world, like how to get it through your world, through which activities you have to execute for getting the baby's attention. And you have to also plan for maximizing the child's residual capacity. Whatever residual capacity is there with the brain, we have to promote it and make the baby to attain the normal development. Our ultimate goal is to make them enter the mainstream or make them as independent as possible. See, what we follow is milestone approach. Means like we will be studying what milestone the baby is stagnant, why it is not developing, what are the prerequisites to promote that particular milestone. And once we understand that, we teach the particular activities to attain that particular milestone. If it happens, so it's fine. In the milder cases, this all will be attained as per the plan. Our approach will be changing if the baby is associated with severe epilepsy or any organic or structural deformities in the brain. So like very much profound or severe developmental delay is there. Our approach will change from the milestone approach to functional approach. Means our aim will be to make the baby as independent as possible. Means all the activities of daily living should be attained. Means like we have to make the child acquaint with the self-help skills first. So we will be aiming at that. Instead of even though the baby is not standing and walking, we will be focusing on self-eating and indicating the toilet needs. Means our approach will change from milestone approach to the functional approach. So we do the stimulation through in all these areas like tactile, vestibular, gustatory. So this is all sensory integration stimulation. So all the areas of sensations, no, we will be providing. We will assess them each area and we provide the activities so that integration will be done. These are the different techniques we follow through the tactile stimulation and the vestibular stimulation through the like different like movement related activities like bouncing them on the ball, rocking and swinging. See, like when it comes to the ball, no, like hyperactive children how to bounce, hypotonic children how to bounce. All the techniques we will be teaching to the parents, and they see like to plan the program, expertization and the professionalism is required. While executing, if the parents learn from the experts, they can very well execute, because most of the things are there in our Indian child rearing system, and we will be promoting them so that the baby is going to get the proper stimulation. Like hearing stimulation, mother will be speaking, providing the different sounds so that the baby will be developing the proper hearing development. Similarly, vision is the major thing. Right from the second month, baby has to look at and develop the vision. We promote them to ask them to have a black and white beads wala bangle in the hand, from like provide all the black and white materials around so that the stimulation is happening very quickly. And we have to like I mentioned earlier, we have to inhibit certain abnormal body postures and balancing activities like bunny hopping. If locomotion patterns are very abnormal like bunny hopping or commando creeping, we have to restrict them, and we should not promote the scoliosis to happen. So we have to maintain the spine in straight position. So we explain them the techniques how to do, and we will be inhibiting all these abnormal patterns so that the normal development is promoted. So to conclude, like early stimulation helps for normal growth and development, and early detection and intervention for these developmental disabled kids will be reducing the impact of secondary disabilities. And intervention is likely to be more effective and less costly when it is provided in the early phase of the life, that is 0 to 3. And healthy baby is a wealth of our powerful nation. So identify all those tiny tots who are at risk for the developmental delay and provide them the stimulation properly, and refer them to the right early intervention clinics or child development clinics so that they will be catching the flow of development in time, and they will be rescued by entering the field of any disability. Stimulation has to be provided in time and effectively through the tailor-made early intervention program. Thank you so much. Like any doubts or like any queries, no, you can contact me. Over to Dr. Shravan Reddy.
Rajeshwari,
Yes.
thank you for that. It was a very wonderful and very intervention and very good presentation. I think the participants are also in very good number for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
I think this your presentation has enlightened for all the participants what is the importance of early intervention. So what is the importance of catching the child at an younger age? So how early we can catch the child? So what are the different causes for these developmental disabilities? So what are the warning signs? So how can we handle them?
Actually, time restriction is so much. Every individual slide itself is a like lecture in itself. Attempt was made to like highlight every area.
Yeah, in this 1.5 hour session, it's very difficult to cover all
Yes,
the areas.
yes.
So I think in the future we can have another 1 or 2 presentations on this.
So
topic.
next
Why
week
this
we
is-
will be coming up. Next week we will be coming up with the sensory integration from other department. So all of you can attend that.
And early intervention is very, very important. See, even from our ministry, from social justice. So we are starting these early intervention centers in all the CRCs, regional center, and also the even from the state government, they are starting at the district level. So this is the importance of early intervention. So because of lot of awareness in the last maybe 5 years, so there is a lot of district early intervention from the government side, even from the NGOs we are seeing. Many of them are starting this, even our passed out students from NIMH or NIPID, they are starting their own early intervention center. And also there is more focus particularly in the rural areas. Particularly now these early intervention centers are available only in the cities. So now even all these rehabilitation professionals who are passing out, they are starting even in the small towns.
Yes.
Even it is creating opportunity for the parents to take the children to them, and also and it is also creating employment and human resources. So any questions from the participants? The session is open. Okay, no? Any questions, queries? The session is open for the participants.
See, all of you make an effort to refer them as early as possible to any available early intervention centers, so that like we will be helping them out to reach the normal development. Wind up, sir.
So the main focus is we want to catch the child at an younger age because of this neuroplasticity and the brain development, which is the most sensitive and the critical period. First maybe 3 years, or some extent of some countries they fall up to 6 years, 5 to 6 years. So it varies from country to country. So our main take-home message is you are identifying the child with all these neurodevelopmental disabilities at an younger age, where we can train them, we can do training, and we can see prevention of disability can be done at an younger age. So when the child comes at a later age, it's very difficult to make them learn, and also the structural changes in the brain or the learning modules, it will be very difficult for the children. So even less than 6 years, you can see there is an alternation, some structures in the neurons, the brain connections, so which we can make the child to learn at an younger age at a very easy manner. If they come at a later age after 8 years, 9 years, it's very difficult for even the doctors or the therapists.
Yes.
So even though we insist them for the therapies or daily training also, you can't see much improvement. So this 3 to less than 6 years is very, very ideal age, maybe less than 5 years. So I request all of you, so whenever you are seeing a client with any of these developmental disabilities or any high-risk pregnancy cases, as a rehabilitation professionals and as a therapist level, so I advise you to refer to them to the nearest early intervention center. So where we are having a good team of all the professionals like speech therapy, early intervention, medical doctors, pediatricians, psychiatrists, physiotherapists, occupational therapists. So that will help the child and also reduce the financial burden when we get the child at an younger age. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rajeshwari. I think any questions you can mail us or you can contact Dr. Rajeshwari. So once again, thank all the clients for participants who are attending this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.